Next up will be our bikini division here. The bikini show was obviously a great show, another division with two really top girls that are Olympia contenders. And I'll also go over third and fourth place as well. But first, we'll start out with the top two. So the top two, Ashlyn and Issa, both look great. Ashlyn looks basically like a different competitor than she was last year. She improved greatly in every single area that we want to see in bikini. Now, Issa, I think, also improved her physique a lot since the Olympia. However, there were just a couple minor issues that she had in the morning at prejudging that I'll go over. Third place, Tamika Carter brought a great look as well. In fourth place was Eureka Shigemoto, who was actually a top 15 competitor at the Olympia last year. So this shows how good of a look Tamika brought to this show, that she was in the top four with three girls that have placed in the top 15 at the Bikini Olympia. And in my opinion, Bikini is arguably our deepest division in the Pro League. And if you're placing in the top 15 at the Olympia, then you are an elite competitor. So Tamika should be very proud of herself that she was in third and being compared with these girls and even beating a top 15 competitor as well at this show. So first up, we'll go into Ashlyn. Ashlyn had the exact conditioning that we want to see in bikini. She was full. She had no striations. We weren't seeing separation anywhere. We weren't seeing separation in her legs when she walked. Her shoulders were not too big. She had nice roundness to her shoulders with a decent amount of muscle. But I'll just get this out of the way right now, since I have seen some comments about Ashlyn being close to wellness, which is crazy. Ashlyn was the smallest girl muscularly out of these top four girls, and she won the show. So, bikini competitors, this proves once again, bikini is not about muscle. Bikini is not about freakiness. Bikini is not about being too hard. Okay, we want everything to flow together. Ashlyn has a great hourglass shape to her physique. We aren't looking for an X frame. We are not looking for an X frame. We don't want hardness. We don't want separation in the quads. We don't want etched in hamstrings. We don't want separation in the hamstrings. And size-wise, she was not only, I'm not talking about height, I'm talking about her body now. She was the smallest girl out of the top four. So bikini is not all about muscle. Again, go look at our reigning Miss Olympia, Maureen. She is not the most muscular girl that's on stage. She has a good amount of muscle for bikini, and she has great fullness to her look. Just for everybody out there to know, that is what we're looking for. These girls are not close to wellness. Any of the top four you want to pick, if you go throw them with the wellness girls, the wellness lineup, they would look completely out of place, okay? You can't judge size and muscularity off pictures, I guess. You know, you really got to see these girls in person and realize they're not as big as they come across in the pictures. After that, we'll go into what she brought. Like I said, she had a great hourglass shape. She had a nice roundness to her shoulders. The conditioning was spot on. She has improved her glutes a ton. We worked with her backstage on a little bit of her front pose, just a minor tweak. And then also for her bikini walk, we fixed her walk so she would keep her glute fullness much better as she walks. But for her, this is by far the best she's ever looked, and her feedback would be to bring this look that she had at prejudging to the Olympia in November. Next up is Issa. So Issa improved her physique a lot since the Olympia. She improved the fullness of her glutes a ton. Now, conditioning-wise, in the morning, conditioning-wise, she was a little bit hard, especially from the front. You could see she was a little hard through the quads. You could see the line being deep in her side leg, in her front pose, in the front. A little bit hard through the core as well. Her tan was also completely off, apparently making her look harder than she was. But I think conditioning-wise, she was just a little bit too hard as is. The back pose definitely improved. Her glutes were not popping the way they need to be, you know, if she wants to go to the Olympia and really contend again. And then we posed them a good bit as well, and she started reverting back to posing with her shoulders instead of on an angle directly towards the judges and really trying to show off more of an X frame than the hourglass physique that we want to see. All these minor mistakes, it really cost her against Ashlyn. She knows what she needs to work on, and I'm sure she's going to fix them for the show next week so she can keep improving to be ready for the Olympia this year. But all those things are the reasons why she lost to Ashlyn at this show, and the scores were unanimous first and second place. Now we'll move on to Tamika. Tamika brought a great overall look to this show. Her feedback was her shoulders are a little muscular. They could come down just a little bit, but she's done a good job of changing that from her shows earlier this year where her shoulders really looked a little big, but also were hard and striated, which, again, we don't want to see in bikini. Conditioning-wise was overall pretty solid. Her hamstrings were still just a little bit too etched in for what we want to see. So if she can find that balance where she has that conditioning still in her glutes that she brought and not have the hamstrings showing as much, I think she'll be even more dangerous. But this overall look that she brought was a great overall look for bikini. And I think going forward this year, she can be, she can do really, really well. She can, vie for an Olympia qualification. And again, like I said a little bit earlier, she was in the mix with 4 top 15 girls from last year. So that just shows what kind of ceiling and potential she has with her physique. In fourth place, Eureka. She brought another great overall look for bikini. The conditioning was pretty on point. She has, again, a nice hourglass shape like the 3 girls above her. The main thing that she needs to work on is adding some more depth to her glutes. That was the main difference between her and the 3 girls ahead of her. I think if she's able to do this, this will help her physique improve pretty drastically. And again, she's a very good competitor that placed top 15 last year and should be doing very well moving forward this season. That wraps up bikini. Next up, we'll go into wellness, and we'll review the top 4 here. First up, in first place, we had Marissa Andrews. Marissa brought a good package to this show. I think her conditioning was spot on with what we want to see in wellness. The feedback that she has is she could pose better to make her waist look a little less wide. And also, she needs to bring the size of her legs down a little bit. And if she brings the size of her legs down a little bit, in my opinion, I think it's going to make her glutes actually look better than what they look now. It's going to really show that she has pretty strong glutes. It's going to show off the fullness and the roundness better. Her legs are just a little too big and a little too thick, where it takes away and makes her glutes look not as good and takes away also how big and full they actually are because her legs are a little bit too thick. Next up, we had Mia Samuels. Mia brought a greatly improved physique, even from just the Republic of Texas a month ago, but this is by far her best look as a pro. Now, Mia's feedback would be she could still use a little bit more to her glutes. She can use a little bit more size to her side leg in the side leg poses. She also can improve her posing to show off her legs better and make her legs look just a little bit bigger than what they actually were looking at the show. Her conditioning was just, I would say, a hair off of what we want to see in wellness. So for her, we told her that she needs to tighten up about 1% to 2%. Now, hearing her feedback and hearing Marissa's feedback, this was a 7 to 8 show, so the judges were split. I think what won Marissa this show really was she was in the proper conditioning for wellness. So she actually needs to bring her legs down a little bit in size. Mia needs to bring her side legs up a little bit in size. Mia could also use a little bit more to her glutes. But the main difference, and I think what was the deciding factor, was just the conditioning this day at the show. In third place, we had Jenna D. Menoncourt. Jenna brought a great look to this show. Her feedback was that her upper body is a little bit thick in the shoulders and the arms. She definitely does not need more muscle there. Probably can slightly come down a little bit. She also can use more glutes and bring her glutes up to match her legs. Her conditioning was pretty solid. Her posing really needs to improve, and when we made posing changes for her backstage, it showed off her physique much, much better than what she was showing off on stage. And I actually think even with the package that she brought, the body that she brought to this show, if she would have posed in this way once we fixed her poses, she could have been in the call-out with the top 2 girls. And in fourth place, we had Diana Carreno. So Diana needs to work on her posing a little bit more, just like Jenna does. Also, she was a little bit on the soft side conditioning wise, and she also needs to bring up her glutes to match her legs. But overall, she has a very, very good wellness look. Nothing is too big or too overpowering. So once the glutes get brought up, the posing gets corrected, and the conditioning is correct, she's very dangerous at any show she'll enter. Next up, we'll review figure. The figure show was actually a very good show with all the ladies in this top four, I think, bringing great packages to the stage. First up, we'll go with Jessica. Obviously, Jessica is the Olympia runner-up from this past year. She brought great conditioning all around. The main feedback for her is she was shaking while she was posing in the morning, but also in her back pose, she was posing her legs kind of wrong, so she wasn't showing. We want to see that separation, and we do want to see the hamstrings and the adductor not etched in and so hard all the way, but we need to see some definition there. She wasn't showing that off, and we fixed that backstage when we worked on her posing. So the main thing for her basically would just be to make sure she's presenting herself well, and conditioning wise, physique wise, I told her I really wouldn't change anything going into the Olympia this year. Next up in second place was Ashley Howes. Ashley brought the perfect figure conditioning to the show. So take a look. This is the exact conditioning we want to see in figure. This is by far the best she's looked all year. I saw her at a couple shows earlier this year, and I think it's the best she's looked ever. She made a ton of improvements. I think coming in this conditioning as well made her physique look a lot better. The main feedback for her, she could use a little bit more muscle to her legs. But other than that, I think she compared very well with Jessica, who once again was the runner-up at the Olympia last year. So for her moving forward, if she can bring this package to another show, I think she can qualify for the Olympia. This look definitely would have won quite a few pro figure shows that I personally judged this year. So for conditioning wise and figure, if you're looking for conditioning, what we want to see, you can see the condition Jessica was in, and you can really see the condition Ashley was in here. That's what we want to see in figure. So she did a great job bringing this kind of package to this show. In third place, we had Tamara Barrett. Tamara brought in a great package as well. The feedback we had for her was she really, really needs to work on her posing, especially her side poses, but also her back pose as well. We fixed these backstage, and it really presented her physique in a different way once she fixed these poses. So going forward, I think that's going to really help her. She was also a little bit hard. She was a touch hard in her lower body for her lower body conditioning. So she was just a little bit on the hard side. And then she could also use a little more to her legs for the side poses. So she needs a little bit more to her side leg. But overall, she brings a great V-taper and a great look for figure. And I think she has a lot of potential moving forward. And in fourth place, we had Amy Mock. Again, I think Amy brought a great package to this show. She has great V-taper in her upper body. She has good size to her legs from the front and from the back. For her, she can use just a little bit more to her delts. She can use a little bit more depth to her back. And she can also use a little bit more hamstring size as well. So just three little things in areas that she can work on. But overall, she brings, again, a great look for figure. And I think this top four was a very, very strong top four for a figure show. So figure ladies, take a look at these competitors, and you can see what we want to see in figure.